Good morning, good morning, good morning. 3 points for Fulham. Let's talk. Fulham 1, Sunderland 0. Raul Jimenez with the late winner for Fulham in the 85th minute, 84th minute. And Fulham got a crucial 3 points in the Premier League in a game that was dominated largely by Fulham. Welcome along. Happy Sunday. I will be going until about 11-ish. There is the small matter of the Steel City derby, Sheffield Wednesday versus Sheffield United at 12 o'clock. And I want to be with the popcorn, ready to watch that one. Let's talk about the game. Fulham made one change to the side that lost to Everton. Sasha Lukic came out, obviously suspended. Josh King comes in. Fulham go with a number 10, which they didn't do against Everton. Iwobi plays in midfield with Sander Berger, and the front three stayed the same as well. Wilson on the right after his hat-trick for Wales. On the left was Kevin up front, Raul Jimenez, and Fulham kept the same back four as well with Leno in goal. And Fulham started the game okay, not brilliantly, but it was Bertrand Traore that had a chance for Sunderland. But then Fulham got joy, and the joy came on the break where Sunderland had a corner and Fulham dealt with it. And suddenly Harry Wilson was just away with about 4 or 5 men up with him in support. Could he have passed? Maybe, but maybe the pass would have been behind the man. Maybe it would have not been the right ball because there were so many men up there. He decided to go alone, cut inside, swerved one just wide. It was vintage Harry Wilson. If that had gone in the bottom corner, it would have been a beautiful goal. But he didn't score. He put it wide. It was a very good opportunity. But yeah, it was a good chance. And then Fulham got another one with Kevin down the middle. Now, when at the time I was like, oh, he's in. He wasn't really in, but he still did well, and he still got away from his defenders. And it was well saved by Roofs. That he, again, probably should have done better. Probably should have scored. And then Kevin had a header at the back post. Anderson had a go. Bassi had a go. King had a little flicked effort. Iwobi overhead kick. I mean, there were so many chances. Maybe 2 or 3 big chances for Fulham in the first half. But still felt at half time that Fulham should have been in front. Just the 2 opportunities really for Sunderland that I can think of, both coming from Bertrand Traore and both being fairly comfortable saves for Bernd Leno. The first one, maybe when he has to come out of his goal, is the better chance than the second. And at half time, I was thinking, oh God, we've got to keep this up, because this has been the best 45 minutes I've seen from Fulham since probably the first half against Brentford, maybe, or maybe even the second half against Brentford, where we battered them. This is what Fulham can do at Craven Cottage. This is what Fulham should do at Craven Cottage. Just absolutely take the game to the opponent, assert our dominance, assert the level of confidence that we had. And the fear going into the second half was, well, can we keep this up? And within 10 seconds of the second half starting, Enzo Lefebvre gets the ball out on the left-hand side and whiskers a shot, well, as a real good go, which goes just wide of the post. It wasn't really troubling Leno. It was always going the wrong side of the post, but I was like, bloody hell, we've got to step it up. And Fulham, first 15, 20 minutes of the second half, just couldn't quite find their rhythm. Those patterns of play that we saw in the first half weren't quite coming off. Fulham was struggling to create chances or dangerous opportunities. And then, actually, when was the minute? Because that's important. The changes came with Kevin coming off for Chukwueze, which I didn't mind, to be fair. Someone was saying, oh, why is Chukwueze out on the left? But I didn't mind that whatsoever, actually. So let's just see when that substitution was made. It was around about it was 64 minutes. Smith Rowe on for King, Chukwueze on for Kevin. And these 2 players completely and utterly changed the game, in my opinion. Just first a word on Smith Rowe, who I thought was so much better. That's the Smith Rowe that I want to be seeing every single week. Getting on the ball, driving forward, making things happen at least. And there was an air of confidence about his play. I think that we didn't lose anything when we lost King. Because Smith Rowe came on and made an impact. Sometimes you bring on Smith Rowe and it feels like, oh, he's not quite at it. He isn't quite settled into the game. And then, of course, Chukwueze, who basically changed the game, in my opinion. um, with some brilliant darting runs, some lovely dribbling, and obviously the brilliant assist for Raul Jimenez. But we'll get to that in a second. There was a chance for Harry Wilson. He shot wide. Smith Rowe had a half volley sail into the Hammersmith end, which looked fairly dangerous at the time. And Fulham were knocking on the door. And the problem was the game was under our control, but it always felt as if in the second half that Sunderland could break at any point and get a chance because the game was getting quite open. Fulham committing a lot of men forward in search for that goal, and in doing that, leaving themselves quite exposed at the back. Now, luckily, Sunderland, whenever they got the ball on the counter-attack, they wouldn't really make much of it. There was a spell for 5 minutes where they got a couple of corners, a couple of dangerous shots, crosses into the box. Nothing more than that, really. And it was Fulham who were knocking on the door. Raul Jimenez went up to try and challenge Roofs and got contact to it, but it bounced wide. Yeah, all the chances in the second half sort of jumbled up in my head in terms of the order of them. All I do know is that Fulham got the winning goal, and it was coming. It felt like we deserved it, 100%. It felt like we warranted it, 100%. Chukwueze out on the left-hand side. What a ball. Sort of in round the back of the defenders, curling into that corridor of uncertainty. Wayne Rooney described it as a striker's dream on Match of the Day last night. Jimenez sort of, the ball bounced in front of him. He poked it under the keeper, and the relief, I think, around Craven Cottage. Now, Sunderland are a good team. I mean, they've demonstrated that this season. I think this is probably one of their worst performances of the season, in my opinion, because they didn't really stamp their authority on the game whatsoever. They had a couple of moments at best, but Fulham were by far and away the better team. And yeah, great finish from Jimenez. What a ball by Chukwueze. I've already seen the comments. Chukwueze needs to start against Spurs. Was very good. I like the fact he can play on the left. I like the fact he can play on the right. Gives us again those two options. I think Harry Wilson at the moment is undroppable, and I think that Kevin is droppable. If Chukwueze is going to put in those sort of performances, I would start him on the left-hand side and Wilson on the right, with then the option to take off Wilson and maybe put Chukwueze on the right, or take off Chukwueze and put on Kevin. So suddenly when you've got two players in Chukwueze and Kevin who will really battle for that starting 11 space, and Chukwueze will be looking to take that away from Kevin, and Marcus Silva said it after the game, that Chukwueze is going to be looking to start games, and we need him to start games because of the impact that he made. And yet again, it's another example of Marcus Silva's subs making an impact. You know, there's some weeks where Fulham get a certain result or things don't go our way, and a lot of people online are saying, I don't get that substitution. I don't understand it. The vast majority of the time, they come good, the substitutions, whether that be scoring or assisting. And in this case, yesterday it was assisting. And then Fulham sort of pressed again and tried to, I seem to remember, Wilson had a shot in the box that trickled wide. I think I might have missed that one. And Wilson had another shot in the box, which was blocked well by Ronaldo. And Fulham 100% deserved to score. And we did. We then saw out time fairly well. We had a couple of opportunities in the box, a couple of loose passes to try and settle the game, a couple of block shots as well. But yeah, Smith Rowe was brilliant, really, really brilliant. And I was absolutely delighted for him. In fact, I didn't actually realise this, but Raul Jimenez also got booked in the 95th minute. I don't think I even tweeted that, but Leno got booked for time wasting. Wilson got booked because he went off the pitch at the he should have gone off the pitch. The closest he could have gone off the pitch was probably behind the goal or on the near side to the Johnny Haynes. But he ran all the way to where the subs usually go off, and that caused him to get a yellow card. There was a kerfuffle at full time. Fulham saw out the win. We saw out the win pretty comfortably, I think. In the end, I think Sunderland had a bit of territory and it was a bit nervous. But Fulham largely dealt with it very well. I thought Anderson was brilliant at the back. Bassi had a much better second half. And Tete was good. Sessegnon was good. Everyone had a good game. And I think that's Probably the first time I can say that this season, maybe the Brentford game as well, but it felt as if every player, all the 11 and all the subs, Harrison Reed, who came on, I think we brought on Castagna right at the end as well. They all had good games. No one really put a foot wrong or made big shining error. I think there was maybe a couple of loose passes at one point in the first half, but yeah, and Fulham saw it out. There was a kerfuffle at full time. I think it was a Sunderland member of staff who had some words to say to somebody. A yellow card was brandished. I don't even know who for. I don't even know now. After the fallout of that, I don't even know who it was for. But fine, Fulham win the game, and I said, when I was making my TikTok, it was absolutely massive, massive 3 points, and it is because do you know what? Half the reason I thought that, and obviously winning is huge, whatever, for 3 points, but I was, as you do, sort of you're aware of the scores, and I know it's like, well, it's too early to sort of think about that. I like to keep an eye on the scores, whatever, during the game. I had, Nottingham Forest 3 up at Anfield. So at one point, West Ham were 2 up at Bournemouth, and I was thinking, oh god, so they're all picking up points. We're currently drawing. We need to win because even you look at the Premier League table now. A win is obviously great, and it's the best we could have done yesterday in terms of sorting out ourselves, right? But it only puts us 3 points above the relegation zone. We are basically hoping that Leeds lose today to Aston Villa to keep themselves in that place. But teams below us are picking up points. It started well with Burnley losing to Chelsea. That remains them on 10. Obviously, Wolves losing to Palace. Wolves are completely and utterly, Rob Edwards or not, new manager bounce. It didn't quite work out that way as Palace rise to 4th in the table. But West Ham winning means West Ham drawing means they rise up to 11 points. We're 3 points above them. But Forest winning, and Forest and West Ham, I think, are 2 teams who have just had dreadful starts to the season and are beginning to show their true colours because I think they have capable squads at this level. I think Forest more than West Ham, but I think West Ham are actually becoming pretty good, and they probably should have lost to Bournemouth, to be fair. Because Bournemouth had Areola made about 1 million saves at 2-2. Then Newcastle winning as well, so they rise to 15 points, dropping us down to 15th. We were 14th at the end of play at the Cottage yesterday. It's all very tight down the bottom, apart from the one team who are completely cut adrift in Wolves. And I don't think, okay, Liverpool, they've on a terrible run of form, whatever. They're on 18 points. They're realistically not going to go down, though, are they? Same with Manchester United, in 10th. Obviously, they've got a game in hand. But you look at everyone from 12th down to 20th are susceptible it to be in a bit of a battle. So winning yesterday doesn't mean we're out of it. We've obviously got 2 massive games coming up in terms of Spurs and City. So the likelihood of picking up 6 points there is thin, albeit it could happen. And Brentford, obviously, they're only 2 points above us. They lost yesterday and probably should have got a point after getting a penalty. If Everton lose to Manchester United on Monday night at Old Trafford, you'd think, oh, they're looking over their shoulders as well. So there are a lot of teams in it. Newcastle winning yesterday doesn't necessarily mean they're out of it as well because of the way the table looks. And of course, I think over the next 4 or 5 weeks when there's going to be more football being played, and the December, November, December, January, all the football, the table will start to maybe clear up a little bit, and you might start to see who's going to be a relegation candidate and who's not. But it's just good that Fulham won because all we need, if we were to draw yesterday, a 0-0 draw, there would have been pelters. Like the mood would have been completely different. We can't take our chances. Raul Jimenez this, Raul Jimenez that, and that's sort of the point I want to make on this video is I can understand people saying Raul didn't have a good game, albeit he scored the winner, right? I can understand people saying that, and if it was just a Saturday to Saturday game where we played last Saturday and we play this Saturday, I would have been like, yeah, he didn't have a good game. He won us the game, but he didn't have a good game. But when you put into context the fact that he came back on Thursday, traveling from the US to play with Mexico, trained one day on Thursday after playing 2 games, 2 games for Mexico where he played 80 minutes and then 90 minutes, to then play a whole 90 minutes 3 or 4 days later after traveling all that way, and then to score the winner. Yeah, he wasn't everywhere. In fact, in the first half, he didn't get much of a sniff at all, right? But people saying he was shit, he was useless. I think that's just ridiculously harsh. I think that's just like that's that's not taking into fact of what a week he's had in terms of the amount of traveling he's got to do. The fact of the matter is that we could have easily gone with Wilson up top and played a false nine. We could have gone with Yona Kustiasari. It wouldn't have happened, but we could have. But Rao has been trusted because Rodrigo is out, right? Rodrigo Muniz is out until 2026. And for him he was kept running all game. Okay, he didn't have a 10 out of 10 game, right? And when I said what a performance, when I tweeted, people were replying saying, no, it wasn't. And I was like, what a performance in terms of the fact that he is here playing a game just days, just hours after getting back really from international duty, and then still came up with a winning goal. He could have been hooked at 60 minutes because he was blowing, right? He could have been hooked at 60 minutes because he's played a lot of football and he's exhausted, right? What was the game the other day where he played and he was absolutely exhausted? There was a game the other day, and again, Marcus Silva said he wasn't 100% fit. I think he is probably fitter than he was 2 weeks ago for sure, but he was still at the end looking exhausted, and then still managed to get on the end of that cross from Chukwueze and score the winning goal. And I'm seeing more stick for him than praise really after the game, which just confused me. And I'm not, obviously, we don't have to agree on everything. People have opinions. I absolutely 100% agree with that. And I think that everyone's entitled to their opinion. But I just felt like I wanted to stick up for Raul a little bit, especially for what Marcus Silva was saying in his press conference as well. When asked about him, he was the story. He scored the winning goal. And then I'm sort of looking on Twitter saying, "Oh, Raul was useless," and I was like, "Well, I don't know what more you want. I mean, the chances came from Wilson, the chances came from Kevin, and then Raul Jimenez came up with the winning goal. And then look, if this next week, if Raul doesn't have a good game, then there's no sort of caveat of, well, he's just come back from, because that there's been a full week, so we can have that conversation next week. If Raul doesn't play well next week, I'll have fully admit he didn't. But I'm very much like sticking up for Raul here. For Raul Jimenez, I thought he was the difference maker, or Chukwueze as well with his delicious ball into the box. Let's go through some of the comments. I know I've rattled on for a while. Do you think Sasha gets back in the team? Not at the moment. I wouldn't change that midfield. And the fact of the matter that we did going into the Everton game, we regressed like so much. I don't know, the approach obviously away from home is slightly more defensive. Even if we're going to Spurs, right? Even if we're going to Spurs, top six club away from home, we haven't won away from home yet. I still wouldn't do it because I think there are chances with the way Spurs play. It's not quite manageable. You're not going to get loads of space on the break, but you will get enough to make chances. And Fulham will want to go there and stamp authority. And I think Alex Iwobi is just a better ball carrier in those positions than Sasha Lukic. I think Lukic is a great player, but like Joe Sansom said yesterday, which I 100% agree with, Iwobi's performance elevated Berger's performance. I think if that works with Josh King in the 10, with Smith Rowe in the 10, whoever plays there, that's the way to go for me. And that's nothing against Sasha Lukic whatsoever. I just think that if we want to get better results, we've got to stick with Berg Iwobi instead of Berger Lukic. Chukwueze needs to start versus Spurs was very good. I agree. Smith Rowe cameo was nice to see. It was fantastic. We have to go to Spurs and play. They've been appalling at home. Agree. In fact, they're playing Arsenal today away, aren't they? Got to go and have a go. Got a couple even harder games after. If we can get something there, 1 or 3 after the 3 yesterday, it's huge. 100%. I genuinely think we can go to Spurs and get something. We did it last season. We were probably the better team, and we probably should have won at Spurs last season. Spurs have some good players who can turn it on at any time. Yavi Siemens, Richarlison, Japolinia, obviously we're going to be playing against him, which would be nice to see. Spurs obviously have a very good team, but they are susceptible at home as well. They've lost to Villa, they've lost to Bournemouth, they've lost to Chelsea at home. I want to say that they've lost a couple more. They're drawn to Wolves, and they only just got the point in the last second with Japolinia's goal. They've been really poor at home, and actually, I was talking to a Spurs fan the other day. They are beginning to turn the fans on Thomas Frank. That performance against Chelsea, where they were absolutely wasting Nothing nice about playing against Jao. Yeah, he's going to be crunching tackles all over the shop. They were wasting the ball so much. They had the ball. They were 1-0 down. They were looking for an equaliser, and Vicario or whoever it was just basically pumped the ball all the way to Sanchez. And the Spurs fans were like, well, that's it. That's the last chance. What a complete and utter waste. They were dreadful. Their last home performance, they were absolutely dreadful. I don't know who they've got in the Champions League this week. I think they're playing. Are they playing PSG in the Champions League? Let's have a little check. I think it'll be on Wednesday, won't it? Champions League. They are. They're playing PSG away from home. So that's obviously they play before us. I know it's an 8 o'clock kickoff, so we've got a whole week to prepare for that. They've only got a few days. They're going to Paris and back, which obviously is not. It's not bloody Timbuktu, but that's still a lot of travelling and a lot of strain on the squad. So yeah, I am. I'm looking forward to Spurs away, and I'm looking forward to playing City as well. Let's just have them. City, I think, obviously City lost yesterday, and their next away game is us. So, well, City should have got more from that game. Absolutely, Foden should have scored. Foden should have had a penalty, for sure. It was a good day of Premier League football yesterday. Obviously, I wouldn't be saying that if Fulham had drawn 0-0 or lost 1-0, but it was a good day of Premier League football, and hopefully today it's even better. You got the Sheffield Wednesday, Sheffield United in just over an hour. Leeds versus Aston Villa, which we need Aston Villa to get something from the game for our sake. And then the North London derby, which I have no skin in the game, so we can just enjoy it and have a few pints down the pub, which is certainly the plan this afternoon. And then we go paint the town red on this Sunday night. Let's go through some of the comments on YouTube. Morning, Jack. Like the Tash, thank you. Yeah, a week. How long have I got left of this Tash? Yeah, about a week. A week to go, and then we can shave it. But it's all for November is it's all for a very, very good cause. Will be interesting if Silva will bring back Lukic next week against Spurs. I thought Iwobi played well in more central role yesterday. I think it's blatantly obvious that one of the mistakes we made for the Everton game was bringing Lukic back in, right? He was then yellow carded. He then got hooked because he was suspended on a yellow card and Fulham couldn't get a foothold in the game. I think Silva's going to learn from his lesson, and regardless of whether it's Spurs or not, I think he goes with Iwobi. He has to go with Iwobi. I would actually be amazed if he starts Lukic, because then where does that leave Iwobi? Because Iwobi always plays. So if he's out on the left or he's in the 10, we can't just do the same thing. If we line up the same way we did against Everton, I'm going to be very upset. But I'm sure Marco Silva's got it all worked out in his head. What players do you think that Fulham should target this January dream window? I think Tyreek George, for sure. He was so close to joining. He'll cover the wide spaces during AFCON and can play down the middle to give us another striker option before Rodrigo Muniz comes back in. I believe it will be February. So there, and then a midfielder, and I'm not sure who. It'd have to be a progressive midfielder. There was one we were linked with from, I want to say, the Dutch league on deadline day, and I think we actually put an offer on the table for him. But I'm sure there'll be some names. I saw Yves Bissouma was linked as well, but very faintly from a source that I'm not necessarily thinking is going to be too reliable. But yeah, I think that I think midfielder, striker, and get it done before like the 20th of January. I want a boring deadline day. My Patreon link is in the YouTube comments, and you should also go and subscribe to it, absolutely. But I don't want anything like what happened on deadline day in the summer, because I want our business done. It'd be nice if we had a couple of rumours and maybe we could do a little live stream, but I don't want to be going for 8 hours talking about we need to sign this and need to sign that. I want business done before deadline day. And that's the question I put to Marco Silva on Friday, and he said, I 100% agree with you. He wants it done before deadline day. I think we will do business for more than one reason. We're not even talking about the Marco Silva contract situation now. This time last week, that was a huge narrative. Now I think it's focus on the football. We've got so many games to come and lots to look forward to. But we need to strengthen in January for more than one reason, to help the squad stay up in the Premier League and to give Marco Silva the tools and to make him more tempted to sign that new deal, which was, like I said, it was a great press conference on Friday. Really fascinating, really open, really honest from Silva. I'd like to say I'm swinging towards, I think he's going to sign the new deal. But that's just, that's my fan head on, and I'm thinking with my heart, not my head. But the things he was saying made me feel like he was going to sign. or he's going to sign. It won't be anytime soon, I don't think. I think it's going to be around February time after the window closes. So basically, this is do or die for the Khans if they want him to sign. And it's interesting because there was quotes saying, backing, I don't like the phrase. He didn't say I don't like the phrase, but he said the phrase "back me." It shouldn't be back me because it's not about me. It's about the football club. And I was like, is he distancing himself from like being the manager? No, I don't think that was the case. I just think that he was being honest. I think he wants what's best for the club, and he was not trying to make it all about him, which of course was what the questioning and the narrative was all about: your contract, your future. And he was like, well, it's not about me. It's about the club, and we'll talk. I thought it was a top 3 press conferences I've ever been part of with Marco Silva. For me, might even be my favourite. Fulham win and the sun is shining. Morning, Trevor. Hope you're doing well. Fulham win, sun's out. Jack Kelly's moustache is on my screen. Life is good. Yeah, I woke up with a spring in my step this morning after 3 points. I'm looking forward to spending some time with my friend today and catch up with him. He's a West Ham fan. He is not too pleased about the result yesterday. Ariola's performance was absolutely unbelievable. Nice one, Jack. Love Raul. Me too. Absolutely love him. When I watch Josh King, I feel like I'm looking at a piece of art. It's like watching Picasso's paint. Watching Picasso paint. He is fantastic. Yeah, King, another really couple of good moments from him yesterday. A couple of nice runs on the right-hand side. I think that led up to Ballard getting a book because Wilson took the ball from him and got hooked as well. Got hooked down. But Harry Wilson was good yesterday. King was very good. Like I said, Smith Rowe came off the bench and did some great stuff as well. So yeah, how are we all feeling? I think that yesterday's win was much needed. I think our home form has been crucial this season. Just the one defeat at home this season to Arsenal, who are the best team in the league right now. There's no getting away from that. So it's not an absolute disgrace to lose to them. I really want to beat City. I know obviously it's a tall order. It's easier said than done. They're the only top 6 team that Fulham haven't beaten since we've been re-promoted to the Premier League. We've beaten all the other 5 at least once. So that's what I want. I want us to get at least get a point. You never even get a bloody point against City. And we've been close a few times. We've run them close a couple of times. But at the Cottage, last season was last game of the season. They scored a couple of goals. It was a bit of a boring watch, really. It wasn't a great... What was the one before? Oh, they won 4-0, didn't they? They won 4-0. That was also near the end of the season. That was the last home game of the season. And then we lost 2-1 with... who scored that incredible goal? Oh, Alvarez scored an incredible goal after Haaland scored a pen and Vinicius equalised. So, yeah, look, our home games against City, we haven't really tested them at all, apart from the time we were level with them with Vinicius for, I think it was about 10 minutes. I missed the Alvarez goal, so I went for a piss. But yeah, it was. That's the game I really want us to get out. And they are one of the best teams in the league. Let's not get around it. Haaland was clean through and went for a different sort of finish because Pope was on rushing and maybe he sort of got his bearings wrong. But on another day, Haaland runs through and scores. I think City probably, but Guardiola will be tearing his hair out how they didn't get something at the St James's Park. But focus on Spurs first. I'll obviously watch Spurs today against Arsenal, see how they get on. But I'm feeling like we can go there and get something. When the confidence is up, we're a good team. It's not like we are languishing down at the bottom. I think we're just trying to build something. And because the Premier League's so bloody congested right now, it's really tight. A win could see you go. A win next week would see us go up to mid-table-ish, depending on other results. And a loss will see us, just outside the relegation zone. Sunderland on 19 points. We're on 14. We're only 5 points behind Sunderland, which can be made up in a couple of weeks if results went our way. But yeah, it's been a fascinating season so far, and nobody's safe. One team is pretty much doomed unless they turn it around. But their fixtures coming up are horrendous. Wolves, really, really horrendous. Yeah, and just I'll wrap up now because I think I kind of want to have some breakfast, I think, and get ready for the Still City derby. My final word on Sunderland is one, their fans are great. Obviously, they come down in their numbers, they make a lot of noise, but they didn't play brilliantly. They didn't. Maybe they gave us a bit too much respect. I thought Bertrand Traore was good on the right hand side. Lefay, who I think technically is one of the best players in, well, I don't want to go too far, but one of the nicest technically on the eye players to watch in I've seen this season. Some of his touches, some of his nice effort as well right at the start of the second half. But I think he's been a joy to watch, Enzo Lefay. Isidore was a bit quiet. There was, I think, a chance he had, which was sort of blocked behind by Leno in the second half. Robbie came on, did basically nothing, in my opinion. They played with the back five. Fulham usually sort of struggle to break down a five at the back. But I think actually this time we did very, very well. Sunderland came to play. They didn't sit every man behind the ball, and that gave us more space. That's why on the halfway line, you saw Kevin sort of run through because they had men up on the halfway line trying to mount an attack, and they play a high line, and Fulham caught them out a few times. Was it slightly naive from Sunderland? Maybe, but so far this season they've been amazing. So a 1-0 defeat to Fulham. I think that their fans will. I think they'll stay up 100%. I mean, they've got enough points in the bank right now to stay up. But in terms of Sunderland, I think they were. Well, I'm pleased that they obviously didn't turn up, really. But I was surprised with the approach they took to the game. Really, really impressed with Fulham. Really impressed. And after that dreadful display at Everton, like really bad display, we come back, we've won, and we head into two really, really big games, difficult games. And then we host Palace, which won't be easy. Their away form is still very, very good. They won yesterday against Wolves, albeit they're the worst team in the league, Wolves, right now. And then we go to Burnley. And then I can't remember, Newcastle in the Cup. And then we've got one more before Forest, or maybe that is it, before Forest. I can't even remember. Hey, oh well. Thanks so much for watching. Please do consider subscribing to Patreon. There's so much fun content over there. It's just $5 a month, and everyone is having a great time. And I want to build it more and more, to be fair. We got in a couple of people yesterday, which is lovely, but we want to grow it to more and more people. So thank you so much for watching. Enjoy your Sunday. Enjoy the winning feeling. We'll be back again, probably post Spurs on YouTube and Twitter to talk about it, but there'll be a lot of content to come through the week through Patreon, as always. Go well, guys, and come on, Fulham. Oh. Well, that was the wrong button. Take care, guys. And guys on YouTube as well. Yeah, Spurs does have the best food, to be fair. I'm looking forward to that immensely. Take care, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate your support.